Perfect. Okay. On today's call, we have something very special. We have a Camtasia 2022 is to come out, but what makes this really special is we probably have one of the best Camtasia trainers, users of the product, and I want to welcome Lon Naylor. Lon, welcome to the call, and I'm basically going to turn it over to you and let you share your screen and go from here.
Oh boy. All right. Well, thanks for having me on. Let me see if I can get this screen sharing thing going out. You cannot start screen while other participant is sharing.
Okay. You should be able to hit it again.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, let's see if we can share this. Hopefully you'll see my Camtasia screen.
Yep.
And I was going to do some slides and all that good stuff, but I put myself to sleep doing that. So we thought what we do for your folks is just kind of wander around and look at some stuff, answer some questions, and just kind of have a little bit of fun with the whole thing. Does that work for you and your folks?
That's perfect.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, if there are questions and stuff, we can kind of address those, or I'm just going to lay out some new stuff that is, as Damon mentioned, in the new version of Camtasia. We are at Camtasia 2022, and there have actually been a couple of maintenance releases. I'll probably chat about that a little bit later. But the basic idea here is that every major release of the product, of course, they add some new features and functions and stuff like that. So I guess I might be kind of interested, Damon, to know, are your folks versed in Camtasia as a rule? Are there users, or, I mean, obviously people who use other kinds of things as well, but
yeah, I think the people that are on the call and that are watching this on a replay probably are Camtasia proficient. I would say advanced or maybe intermediate and above. We've been doing video ranking, and some of these folks have been with me since probably 5-6 years ago. And so I know some of them use Camtasia, and they're a lot better than I am. But you know, there's so much new stuff that helps as far as screencast and teaching and consulting goes. That's why I'm excited to be on the call today.
All right, that's good. And I'll just kind of throw it out here that one of the reasons I like Camtasia overall, especially for business purposes and things like that, is, in my mind, and I can make an argument for this, Camtasia is the king of content creation. You can literally create more kinds of content as quickly and easily with Camtasia than you can with just about any other single tool. You can do podcasts, you can do, of course, video stuff, screen sharing, lectures, sales videos, you know, training content, presentation style kinds of things. So that's probably why a lot of people like it and will gravitate to it, certainly. And in this new version, I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of have a few things laid out on the timeline here as far as some major feature action going on. So let's just kind of wander around a little bit. First and foremost, and maybe one of the least remarkable aspects of it is, if I click this home item here off the file menu or do a Control-H shortcut, there's a new welcome screen. And it's really just kind of text misdirection in trying to make things a little more visually friendly and things like that. So in reality, there's a lot of good information here and things that you can do and go learn. There's some good tutorials, and you kind of see that this is, you know, a little bigger, a little bolder, a little nicer. We got some resources hooked up here as well. And then the standard things you kind of find on a welcome screen, you know, your recent projects. And a lot of us will know that Camtasia has templates that you can get and work with. In the new version, there are actually a couple that are really kind of nice, but there's really only kind of a couple. If you want other templates and stuff like that, you have to join their TechSmith asset platform. And I've never done that. I find it to be kind of a overpriced type of a thing. It's just a media resource thing. I don't know about you, Damon, but you probably have lots of resource sites and things
Yeah.
like that. Um, and they don't really seem to focus a lot on creating templates and assets, which are things that I would think that they would do in spades. And all that being said, we are going to see them kind of jump into that a bit when we get to look at the new library. So just be aware there are a couple of new templates. I think I got a couple of demos of this on my timeline also, so we can take a look at that. And I can just go ahead and close that. Now, the thing is, of course, you can get to it right within the program. You don't have to restart the program to get to the home screen. So not a earth-shattering kind of a thing at all, but there's little incremental things along the way, along with some of the bigger kinds of things. So let's see. I think what we'll do is I might even jump just a little bit ahead here. In the new version, there are a couple of effects that are really just kind of game-changing types of things. If a lot of your users are familiar with Photoshop or with Premiere Pro, literally any other high-end video editing program on the planet, they might be familiar with things called blend modes, right? So blend modes are essentially algorithms. They're a bunch of really icky math that programs can apply to different layers in an application. So, and what those algorithms do is they just literally decide, literally decide this item on top should interact or blend with this item underneath. Exactly how. So there are different ways to do that. And here's just an example. I have Maggie the Wonder Dog on the bottom here. And then we have another item on top. And the item on top is what's called the blend layer. And this is called the source layer underneath. Okay, so again, all we're talking about here is how does the top layer interact with the bottom layer? And that's about as technical as I kind of want to get to it, other than to mention that I've added that effect in. And to do that, you can just go to Visual Effects, and there is a blend mode. Okay, and users will probably know that you can just drag and drop this onto the canvas when you have the item selected. Or another way that I like to do it is you can right-click and do visual effects. This is about, this is how I normally add my effects in, and it's just kind of a little shortcut thing. Instead of having to navigate to whatever, where is, the visual effects over here, and then you got to go on tabs and stuff like that. I find that the right click on the canvas, on the object, is the easy way to do that, right? So 1 second. Now, the blend modes are the same ones that are used. There's, how many are there? I think there's like 23 or 26 different standard blend modes. They're the same ones that are in Photoshop, okay, and the other kinds of programs and stuff. After I've added the effect on my blend layer object, I can go here and then choose a different mode, right? And I'm not really going to get into all these different ones because, like I say, there's just there's a ton of them, and they do a ton of different things. But the things that they do kind of in categories. right? So you'll notice there's a little line here. Those are the various categories of blend modes. So we have ones that, the top ones, normal and dissolve. Well, they don't really do anything per se. Normal, for example, really just has to do with opacity. Okay, so I can change the opacity of the top layer, and then of course we know what happens. The sum of the bottom layer will show through. So these two aren't really all that exciting. Then you get into ones that darken and ones that lighten. Some just overlay the two layers together, again, in a really icky math kind of way. Using the values of all the pixels and RGB value, all kinds of wild and crazy stuff like that. But the thing here is that what you want to kind of do is just play with a lot of these types of things, right? And when you click on one, let's move my playhead over here. Actually, let me do this. Let me show you what I'm using for different items. Okay, so here, again, I've got Maggie the Wonder Dog, right? And on top of her, I want to put an effect of some type. Now, this is a video clip. And if let's move it over even a little bit more and I'll just preview it for you. And all it is a stupid little line effect, line and circle graphic effect. And what I might want to use it for is like emphasis. If I could put, it's drawing this circle and these lines on top of my image here, that would be kind of cool. Well, I used to be able to hack this kind of thing a little bit by just, turning down the opacity. But it's still going to be, some of it is black, and it's just not going to look good. So what this kind of effect lets me do is, you'll see here, if we go down to the blend mode, screen is the default mode, and it is the one that you're going to use absolutely the most of. Okay, and what it does is it just kind of takes the two in terms of lightness and stuff like that. And now it is basically, just shows the part that I'm interested in, the lighter part, and it gives me a kind of a nice little embellishment effect. Okay, so screen is the one you're going to use. You can also invert things. Things may or may not look interesting that way. And the other thing that you can do right off the top here is you can preview these by just rolling over the item here. And you'll see that once you get to certain ones, again, some are going to lighten, some are going to darken, some are going to take things away, some are going to put things in. They're going to mash them together, subtract them, divide them. And there's just all different kinds of results that you'll get. I'll show you a couple of tricks. But like I say, we aren't going to really get into it too much, other than to say that you'll want to be aware that you can change the intensity, you can preview them, and of course, in the newer versions of Camtasia, you can also toggle them on and off, right? So that's kind of the scoop there. Let's take a look at another example. You can also stack them. Okay, so here, I'm not even sure what I have. What do I have here? Okay. Is this, I think this is a Lottie file. Damon, do your folks know about Lottie files?
No.
They are awesome. And they came out a couple of, well, let's see, in 2021, I guess. If you just go to lottiefiles.com, what you'll find are all kinds of these animations, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and they're transparent. They have transparency, and there's lots of artists out there that put these things together. Well, the cool thing is that Camtasia now supports Lottie files. And in the past, you might know, well, if we wanted, this effect to be transparent, which is what we kind of have here, So the only thing you can really see is the object itself, not the background. Okay, in fact, if I can't get to my top menus here, but if I change the color of the background, you would see that, oh, let's just move this over. I guess I can demo it that way. So it's transparent, and Lottie files are awesome. Well, what I can also do with these cool kinds of files is add a blend mode. So this is called color dodge. And let's just kind of isolate that again. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Let's switch this off to to mess with it. And I could play with different, let's see, was it color dodge? So there's all different kinds of things that you can screw around with here, I guess is the way I would put it. And then here, all I've done is I've duplicated this layer a few times, okay? And I just make different sizes, put them in different positions, same effect. But now all of a sudden when I stack them up, or even stagger them, which is kind of a cool way to go. Let's do that. Let's stagger a couple of them just slightly. So now, scroll down. Let's take our base layer here, and I'll just let that roll. Let's do that. There we go. So you get all these really kind of interesting effects, right? So that's kind of fun. And then once you kind of play around with a few, like I say, let's take a look at this one. There are tons of tutorials out there that show you how to use blend modes. Again, especially I'll give you the tip here is if you look for stuff in Photoshop or Adobe Premiere, they're the same, right? So you can actually play with the same kinds of concepts, which is sort of fun. So here, this is a very common use for a blend mode. Here I have my base layer. One second. My base layer is this little landscape scene. And then on the top here, I have some clouds. Well, what you can do with the blend mode and overlay, okay, and overlaying the clouds on top of the landscape. So here's no blend mode, and I can swap things out like this. And the reason I can do that, though, it has to do with a little more, getting into more advanced stuff. You'll notice there's a lot of blue here. Okay, there's a lot of blue here in these particular examples. So when I blend and overlay them, you can also select the range, and we can work with certain colors. So let's see here. What do I have? I probably have the blue range. Okay, I'm using the blue channel. I can change the color channel. And then these kind of handles here will take the lightest stuff and show that more. And if I were to move these handles, then it's going to show darker stuff more. So this is kind of like a see-through map of what it is I'm trying to manipulate and change. Okay, so this would be all the different colors, but you'll notice that the dark stuff here starts to bleed through. So I don't really want that. I want to stay up here in the bluish, lightish kinds of range, and I'll even ramp that down like that. And then it lets you dial things in pretty good. So you can start swapping stuff out and, just come up with different effects and whatnot. Okay, so blend modes are probably one of the biggest things that are in the new update. Any questions on that? I'm not really looking at chat or anything.
Yeah,
So
no question. I've got one question. When you stack all these lotties, do they just go to track one automatically when you're blending? Or do they go to
No,
the one track below it?
they go to the one track below it.
Okay.
Okay. Now what you can do though is you can group them. Okay. Control G to group, and then you can apply. You see how it changes the effect?
Yep.
You can apply a, let's see, can we do that? How do we do that? Add visual effect. So you can add a blend mode to a group, right? And then you'll get some other combinations and stuff like that too. So groups are awesome. Probably going to do a workshop on groups alone one of these days, but yeah, blend modes are a big one. And let's see, what else do we got? As far as visual effects go, there's a new one called Spotlight. So I'll just go ahead and let this roll for a second. This works on, of course, images or video. And what it does is I'm going to click this, and I've added the effect. Again, the same way I did before, right click, visual effect, and spotlight. Okay. Let's see. So what you can do is it's basically just a spotlight effect, and you can change with these kind of nice little handles and stuff where the light source is, where the light pinpoints to. Okay, you can change the color. Let's change it to white. You can change, the opacity, brightness, all that good stuff. And of course, like any effect, you can also animate it, right? So don't forget that you can take any of these kinds of effects, including the blend modes and stuff, and animate them using just regular animation keyframes. So here, I have a certain set of parameters, properties, position, scale, and also the properties of my spotlight, right? And then all I did was I made a change, and those animate. So animates from this set of properties to this set of properties. So animations are, pretty fun, that kind of thing. I think this one might be kind of useful, especially since you can animate it and do stuff like that. Adds a little effect to it. Let's see, let's look at this one. Here's one I'm not real wild about. Let's add us a visual effect for this. There's another one called, what is it called? Not colorize. Where is it? Outline edges. And I don't know. To me, I guess it's supposed to try to make things look like they're drawn, but it's just so radical, and you can't really change too much in the way of the parameters. If I change the intensity down, you get, some kind of an effect here, but I don't know. It's not probably my favorite. So probably won't spend too much time on that one. Let's see, what else do we have? Cursors. There's a certain line of thinking inside of TechSmith, and this comes from probably the two most influential strategy development guys. One guy named Brooks Andrus, and then another dude named Joe Dearman. They're always working with us in the beta groups and stuff like that, and they kind of dictate direction. And one of Brooks' pet projects or pet development themes is what he calls cursors and cursor heroes. Okay, and just to kind of think about it a little bit, what he's talking about there is that if you're familiar with screen captures, probably the main reason you want to do a screen capture video is to show somebody how to do something. There's, I don't know, probably not a lot of other reasons or uses to do that, but that's one of the major aspects of Camtasia that we want to keep in mind and want to be able to do. Okay, well, the design aspects of that are such that if you think that it is to show and demonstrate how to do something, then the cursor to their thinking becomes like the central actor in the whole thing. So go here, do this. And how many of you have seen and or been guilty of, you can raise your hand because I know you all have, because I have, just waving your mouse around, and doing all kinds of stupid stuff that literally destroys a lot of the good work that you could be doing in demonstrating for someone how to do something, especially with a little teeny tiny white cursor that nobody can see in the first place, right? So the concept here is to be able to take like a screen capture here and augment what you can do with the cursor, right? So every screen capture, every TREC file has, a certain set of properties, its size, scale, opacity, position, blah, 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 but also has cursors. And let's see, under visual effects, you can add like cursor effects. Let's see, like showing the ring clicks and stuff like that. That's old news. But now when you click on the cursor properties here, you have a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do. One is to scale the stupid cursor up, which is kind of a nice thing. And the reason it's a nice thing, you could always do that to a degree, but this scaled cursor is a vector graphic. It is not a bitmap like your Windows. I don't know if Macs are raster graphics or not, but see my crosshair, my red crosshairs here? That is a raster image. So everybody knows what happens when you enlarge a raster image, right? One made of pixels. Well, it pixelates, it gets fuzzy and nasty. This is a vector graphic, which means that it is literally infinitely scalable because it doesn't use pixels, it uses math to say, what everything is, what color it is, where it is, blah, 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 right? So you can scale this thing up using the slider to 2000. And if you can't see that, then you're probably, gonna miss out on the boat here. But you can actually, and a lot of folks don't know this, is you can sometimes change the values here beyond what the sliders give you. And you can actually take this to 10,000% if you wanna. I'm kind of trying to find a thing I might be able to do with that. Maybe use a cursor as a transition or something. But I'm going to go ahead and reset that. So that's kind of the first and stupidest, easiest thing, is that we can just make the darn cursor bigger to make it more visible and to make it more focus worthy. You can also click here and edit the cursor path. So when you record with the Camtasia Recorder, Camtasia knows it adds the metadata of cursor position. When does it click? All that good stuff. So Camtasia Studio knows all that stuff because Camtasia Recorder recorded it all. And so it just parses it out. And then this says, okay, well, show me what the path was that I recorded with my cursor. We can kind of see it down here, right? And if I want at this point, since Camtasia knows what it is and all that good stuff, I can change it if I wanna. So I could, maybe just make it a little different. And then you can use things like the Bezier handles here, make it a square kind of a thing, right? And it gives you the ability to just make things move smoother. If you're guilty of waving your mouse around, right, like a hummingbird on crack, which is what a lot of people just always do, this is one way that you can really put that focus back on where it's supposed to be and things like that. So that's one aspect, is working with the cursor data from a recording file. Well, what if you don't if you didn't use a recording file, can you still use a cursor, right? So here, I'm going to click off of that. There we go. Let's take a look at this, and I'm just going to let this roll for a second. Then maybe I'll step through it a little. We let this play. Okay, so I get all kinds of new and different ways that focus can be put onto the cursor. And I'll just kind of step through a couple of those. And, so here, it's new, it's interesting, and it's just kind of, again, where things are sort of heading. If I step through this, okay, very clean, very to the point, make it happen, right? That kind of a thing. And the way that happens is you can actually take, let me see, what do I have here? Okay, so here, I don't have a recording file. I just have a screenshot, right? And what I can do is I can add cursors into it. I could go to Visual Effects, and let's see, I can add a cursor path. I think I already have one. Yeah, I do. So I've added a cursor path here. I'll just, let's see. Let's just edit that. And now there was no, what I'd like to do is delete that. Let me delete that effect. There we go. And let's add it. So first, just a still image, right? Nothing going on there. But what I want to do is kind of make the story happen, if you will. So I can click on it on the canvas here. Let's add a visual effect, and let's add a cursor path, right? And now I get the same kind of thing that I got with the screen recording, but this isn't the recording. This is something that I can go ahead and let's zoom in a little bit. I can decide where my cursor starts. Maybe I have it start off screen, right? Now let's have it start down here. And then it's going to kind of come up, and let's just have it very cleanly and elegantly, work with this button here. And that's basically what it's going to do. So I can scale it up, again, scale it up if I want. I can, change some of the other parameters here, and I can change the speed at which it moves by just elongating or shortening, those kinds of things, and when it happens. So this is just kind of like an animation. You can think of this literally as an animation, and only animating a path, right? And I hope what TechSmith does is they let us start doing paths animations with like call outs and stuff. Right now, you can't really do that. You can only just move them in like straight lines and stuff. Okay, so there, kind of the basics of the cursor types of things from effects standpoints. The other aspect is the library, and there are cursor effects in the library. I'm just going to kind of add one here, and then we'll talk a little bit about the library, because that's kind of a big deal also. Come here, you. So here, out of the library, I have grabbed myself a little effect. And it's kind of a different ring or click rings type of a thing. And let's see, can I show that off screen? Maybe see it a little better. Right, so there are different things that I can do from the library. And when I say things, there's like almost 1,200 new items in the library. So let's see, let's take this and let's just kind of put it in, and let's make it click kind of where we want it. Boom, big, bold, dramatic. And that's the same kind of thing we saw in these effects over here. All those kind of cool cursor bursts and stuff like that, right? So lots of good stuff there. Let's talk about the library for a couple minutes. The library, oh gosh. In the library, there are, and I used to know the number, I've forgotten it off the top of my head here, but it's over 1,000. There's 1,000 new things in the library. And just a couple of things to note. The library, of course, is where you can store all kinds of stuff that you create yourself, things you customize yourself. You know, if I create a text box with a certain font of a certain size, I don't want to do that every time I want to use that. I save it to my library, right? So we do things like that. Library is very handy dandy. I like it a lot. A couple things to note here in 2020. First is that they will pull your previous stuff in. Okay, so you don't have to worry when you upgrade about losing all this stuff. And also, I think this is a nice thing they did as opposed to previous versions. You also bring in the previous versions library. Okay, so we can see here the Camtasia 2021 library. Yeah, it had some stuff. It had mostly the same stuff as previous 3 versions of Camtasia, right? So we're pretty much looking at it right there. In the new version, like well over 1,000 new things. So here's going to be just a couple of quick observations and then maybe a tip for you. Lots of audio stuff. Okay, we're used to those. There are new call outs. And when I say there are a lot, what you're going to find is, let's go like this. I'm going to close up some stuff. Each one of these has, well, let's see how many. This one, there's timers. So I like those. And a lot of these have subdirectories of subdirectories. Now let's just double click this and preview it if we can. So here, it's kind of a neat thing, right? It's a line call out with some text that we can change. Let's see. Here's some of my favorite ones. Ones like this. See that? It draws the line. It has a little flashing dealy here. So you can point to stuff. Again, in conjunction with cursors, this makes things really kind of nice. I like it. In fact, what I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to put this on the timeline at the playhead. Okay, and there we go. I like that. What do I have here? Okay, let's do this. Let's put it on top of here. I'm just screwing around here at this point. And I probably want to change the text color, which with quick properties, of course I can. Let's just change the text color to black, right? And that good stuff. And we'll change this one to black, just so we can kind of see it. But I really like that they have a lot of these new call outs and stuff. They just look good. Let's roll it. And you can point stuff out. The problem is that there are like dozens and dozens of these things. So one of my main recommendations, I think, and the way I'm leaning here is I'm going to like make a folder here called 2022 favorites. Okay. And you'll notice another little trick here. When I want something to appear at the top of my library, my user libraries, I put a 1 or a number preface in front of it. So I know that 1 dot whatever are going to be the things that I use all the time or most. They show up at the top, right? So I'm creating a folder structure called 2022 favorites. And then as I find ones that I like, you know, I will just, let's see here. Let's right click here and add to library. And I can add it into one of my other libraries, give it a different name. Like they, you know, the naming conventions they use aren't really the best. So I'll kind of come up with something that makes a little more sense and start adding stuff into a favorites. Okay, so that's kind of the scoop there. You're gonna find, okay, let's see, what kind of examples do I have here? Let's just show a couple of these that are some of the cooler ones that I found. And I don't know another way to do this other than to get in here and dig around. But here, I'm going to let this roll, and you can certainly see that this is probably one that might be useful or interesting, right? So it's just like a Google search box thing. Okay, well, I can create this on my own, you know, with animations and stuff. And but having interesting assets that you can just grab and use is kind of nice. For example, this typing effect. Do you guys know how to do that? Well, there's a way to do it using a behavior. And it's like one of the tricks and stuff that I've shown how to do. But the cool thing is you don't have to know how to do that now. I used to have to hack that to create this. Yeah, this is kind of nice. I have literally an asset within an asset that is typewriter text. So I could actually go in here. Let's do it. I like just doing stuff on the fly. Search text. I'm going to right click on this and copy it. Let's close that group out. Let's paste it here somewhere. Paste. Okay. So now, see, it's not a search thing anymore. It's typing text. Boom. So now what I could do is just add this to my library. And it's easy to change the text right there. So it's a lot of good things you can do with library assets like that. Pick them apart, do stuff like that. Let's take a look at this one. I love this. Okay. I don't know how that comes across on the webinar. I'm going to step through it a little bit. It's kind of a wheel. It's a title effect. Having text title stuff like this is just awesome. I love that. I can use that a lot. One of my favorites, definitely going in the old favorites folder. Here's another really good one. I like this. Actually, let me make that bigger. There we go. This is a beauty. Right? Nice title screen with kind of a cool title intro to it. Short, punchy. Oh, and if you click on the group here, everything is customizable right here. You don't have to open up the groups. You don't have to double click on text, all that good stuff you used to have to be able to do. This is just nice. And then, like I say, lots of timers and stuff like that. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, one other thing that may or may not hitch you up, and when I say hitch, I mean H-I-T-C-H, cause you a hitch in your get along is, okay, here I have this thing and it's on the canvas, and let's say I want to move it. Well, before you had these things called snap lines. Okay, so if I took something and put it right in the middle, well, there would be a yellow line down the middle and a yellow line horizontally to let me line that up. Well, they've kind of expanded on that to a degree. So now what you can kind of see are these other lines that kind of kick in, and they also snap. So here, what I can see is that I am snapped, or I am aligned the top of the object to the middle horizontally, and this way, right? I'm in the bottom half of the screen, and I can snap it and align it in a different way. Let me see if if I were to add some other stuff, let's just add something else there. Okay, so now I got two objects. I think this will take a little getting used to, but I think it will be kind of good when you're working with aligning multiple objects. So what it does is it just sits here and watches and tries to figure out where exactly everything is in relation to everything else. So here I know I'm, aligned in the center, the middle of this to the tip of that, and to the edge of the screen here and all that good stuff. All right, well, that's fine, and that might be handy and useful. What you might find hits you up is it's going to do that all the time, and it's going to stick. When you're trying to fine tune something in, it's going to stick. So what you want to do is you want to go to View, and you want to toggle off Enable Canvas Snapping. You can use Control plus the semicolon here as well. Now I can move this, and in fact, if I use my arrow keys, I can really dial it in, almost pixel by pixel here to where I want to go. But by default, it's going to be on, and if you don't know that, that could drive you insane, right? So that's neat. Let me see, one more. I got one more here. Anchor points. So here's Maggie the Wonder Dog. And actually, I'm going to make her a little smaller. Okay, and I'm going to put her in the middle. And you probably know that you have this piece in this little dot in the middle. That's called the anchor point. Okay, and then there's a little circle next to that. This is the rotation handle. So if I grab this guy and rotate it, what happens? Well, it rotates around the anchor point. And now in this version, what you can do is you can change the anchor point. So let's move this up a little bit. I'm going to press and hold my Control key. I'm then going to grab the anchor point, which you could not do previously. And I'm going to move this down, oh, I don't know, down into the corner somewhere. And now when I rotate, it's going to rotate around that anchor point, okay, instead of around the middle. And this will be handy for some kinds of advanced animations and stuff like that. I'll just make the other point of here I have two objects. I got this guy and this guy, two just regular little rectangle shapes. Okay, each one has an anchor point, right? And anchor points also work on groups. So let's select both of those. So I'm going to Control G to group. And now you'll see that I have that anchor point for the group. Let's change the anchor point, press and hold Control, and let's put it down in the corner. And when I rotate, it's going to rotate the contents of the group. So we can start to do some stuff like that. Let's see, what else? I think those are probably, oh, transitions. There are new transitions. There are 30 new transitions to be exact. And what I've done is I've kind of put together a little bit of a guide here for you. It's just a little PDF. And I've got some links and stuff here for you. And I've listed out the 30 new transitions in Camtasia. Okay, and then I'll just leave you with one other kind of little trick here. These are all 30 by category, right? So these are the new ones. If you go here, and let's look at some transitions, right? Here are some transitions. I got one clip here. I've got another clip here. And of course, transitions can go. You just drop them in between two clips, and they're going to transition from one to the other. If we go to transitions here, I've laid them out by category so you can see which ones are new, right? And play with them if you want by checking out this little guide here. And my final tip and trick here is that, yeah, I like transitions to be used in between clips, right? As normally transitions are, but one of my secret Kung Fu techniques is I like to use transitions as animations. So here, what do I have? I got a text box. That's all it is, a text box. And if you put a transition on a text box, okay, transitions can do some interesting things. So for example, I start to get some cool topography effects, some cool animation effects. Let me step through this. Okay, so here's the transition starting to happen. Oh, okay, well, it's doing that thing. There's my text, and then I can also have it exit. Here's another one of my favorites. It's a spinning effect. Okay. Could I do this with a regular animation in Camtasia? Yeah. But to do it here, all I had to do is drag it from here and drop it on a text box. So much easier than, adding an animation and then spinning that thing a whole bunch of times. Right? Here's another one. I like, okay, that's cool. And by the way, you can tell what it is by just hovering over it. Swirl, spin. What I've done with my little guide here is I've added my favorite text effects transitions. Okay, so by category, what was that? Swirl, spin, or something like that. It's in here somewhere. There it is. Under radial, you will find swirl, spin. Another one I like is portal. Did I put that one in?
Lon, do you have the PDF link?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
If you can put that in chat for everyone.
Yeah, did I forget to give that to you? I put it on my Amazon server, so everybody should be able to get it.
Okay.
Let me see.
I think I have it. Let me see if I can use it from here.
Yeah. Oh, there's chat. Okay. Let me see. I think I can put it in there to everyone, not hosts and panelists. Boom. That should be it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So one thing to be aware of with that little trick, let me see here. Which one is this? Let's play that. Okay, another one. My favorite's on the list there. Okay, this one's called Portal. Ooh. I really kind of like this thing.
I like that.
Yeah, this is nice. And this is just on a text box. It's even cooler when you do it between clips. But here, something I want to demonstrate for you. See how it, let's click off that. I hate that thing there. All right, so now I'm stepping through. Nice, right? The thing to be aware of when you're using these, especially for text, is that if I click on this end, the exit transition, you can also reverse that. Okay, so let's watch that for just a second. Okay, see how it goes out, or from in out, and it's going to cover it up. Well, coming in, right, it grew from the center. Okay, and now if I want to reverse that, it's going to come in from the outside, literally reverse of the way it kind of came in. So this might be a better way to get that one to exit out. Just be aware that you can do that by clicking on the specific one you want, either entrance or exit, and oh, like it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think those are the major things. Any questions?
Yeah, guys, do y'all have any questions? Just put them in here. While we're waiting on if anybody had any questions. Lon, you had mentioned to me earlier that you have like some very specific training for this. Is that available right now?
Well, I'll just let you know what our training is in general.
Okay.
And I have a training partner. His name's Ron Hogue. Do you know Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron is awesome. He's actually one of my best students, and he's just kind of become a monster at it. And we've been working together for, gosh, a couple of years now, ever since Michelle Shane decided to go into the corporate world. So Ron's my training partner, and we've put together, gosh, ever since Camtasia 9, we put out a course called Camtasia Mastery. Okay, and what we've done here is we bundled everything together, and everything from Camtasia 9 through the newest versions. We're still putting together some content for 2022, but essentially it's a bundle. And let's see, I think I'll put a link for that in there as well.
That'd be great.
For everybody. Control V, I got a discount for you, of course. You can check out all the details here, but what makes this different is that it is project-based training, right? So it's not just, okay, here's a button and you push this and, abstract kind of training on how to use each feature and function. It is projects. So you watch the instruction that does show you the how and the why, but you also have projects that will walk through exactly how to put it into action, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
And this includes, from the very beginning and basics through the in-depth kind of stuff on how to use all the features. That's our, flagship kind of thing. The Camtasia Pro is the project-based stuff. And then Ron and I have written a book. You get a copy of that with audio. And I do a coaching webinar, and I've done this since 2008, a bi-monthly coaching webinar on how you do Camtasia. I do PowerPoint video because that's really good screen capture kinds of stuff, and also resources and all the good stuff, all the juicy new stuff. I test it and show you recommendations and whatnot. But you get 12 months of those live calls, and you also get access to, I actually have to trim it back. I think there were like well over 800 webinar sessions that are recorded in the library. But at some point they're for old versions and stuff like that. But you get access to the entire library of all of those calls and stuff like that. Private Facebook group, boom, 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 all that. And I have a coupon code. If you use the coupon code LON, it's going to knock $100 off the whole darn deal. You can check out all the details here, what you get, and I think it's also in your PDF. Where did I put that? PDF file here right at the top. This is all should be clickable. And like I say, I got a couple of other links here. Let me see. You can upgrade to 2022. Interestingly, if you upgrade to 2022, you also get a year's worth of their maintenance contract, which means that you get Camtasia 2023 for free. They've been doing that for a couple of years. One also other thing I mentioned that they kind of came out with a couple of releases already. The day after they released it, which was June 7th, it crashed a bunch of stuff. So they had to put out a couple of fixes. Right now, we'll report that the latest version I'm running seems to be running fine. I have an overview video and transitions demo reel. Let's see, kind of a cool template sample. And remember when I said blend modes were horribly complex and stuff? Clint Hoagland is one of our TechSmith buddies. He's an engineer there, and he put together just the most awesome tutorial on understanding all the blend modes and stuff. So that's the name of that. Gosh, I think that's it. I am spent.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Guys, I don't see any questions, and we're kind of at the top of the hour. And what I was going to do on this is Camtasia has, the new version has an integration with Audiate, which is one of their products. And I have been diving into Audiate. I've had Audiate for a while. And the combination of the two together is just incredible if you want to get really good audio, or if you have external sources that make your audio bad, this is the way to fix them. So I wanted Lon to come on with us on this, but I'm going to go on to his mastermind group and teach that. And so I'll have a recording of it, but it's one more step and one more reason to go ahead and upgrade to Camtasia 2022. This is a incredible. I've seen some of their version updates, and it's like nothing spectacular. They have some spectacular stuff on this one. It's definitely worth the upgrade.
Yeah, I haven't used Audiate yet. Well, I did a little couple test things and stuff. Oh gosh, a year or two ago, but I'm kind of excited about it too. That is that concept of using text-based video is another one of their kind of interesting directions. So,
and once you get familiar with it, it is
right.
really so much easier to edit when you're reading the text with it. So anyway, we got another Geek Out Friday in 2 weeks from now, and it's going to be more about productivity tools that I have found that just really increase your efficient work while you're on the computer. So we'll talk about it then. But Lon, thank you very much for joining us. And guys, I hope you're excited about everything that he showed you, because he just kind of just opened the magic box a little bit, but there's so much in there. You just have to get in there and play with it. And if you're not familiar with Camtasia, or you want to become better at Camtasia, I highly recommend the screen capture video, the Camtasia Pro. I took the course 7-8 years ago, or not 7-8, 2 or 3 years ago, and it really ramped up my Camtasia game. And some of these new transitions and animations I've already started using, and it gives you enough so you don't have to go out to videos or Placeit or any of these other places to grab intros and bumpers and stuff like that. You can build them straight from in here. It's incredible. And over the course of the next few months, I'll be introducing some new videos. But the takeaway from this is Camtasia is really working on how do you improve the video, the teaching video, the consulting video. How do you get it so people's attention span is getting so much shorter? Is how do you keep their attention? And they're really focused on that. It appears to me, especially on this new version. And if you want to learn, if you want to take that first step, I would highly recommend grab that Camtasia Pro to go with it. Guys, we're just past our hour, so I'm going to end the call today, and we'll save it, and the replay should be up later today. Lon, thank you, and Wayne, thanks for joining us, and I'll see y'all in a couple of weeks.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.